Welcome to another Crypto Cove technical training. I'm your host today, Hunter Rodriguez, and today we're going to be going over all the different ways of swapping, or rather 6 of the most popular ones, because every single method of swapping is not appropriate for every situation. And the question of which method to swap is the most appropriate for you is going to depend on a lot of factors. And we'll be going over those today and working through a sort of pros and cons list as we go over all these different swap methods. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one. And this one's actually going to be using the MetaMask swap aggregator since, well, I imagine that's the one that everyone here is most familiar with. Now, the swap aggregator has been having some issues with the Binance Smart Chain recently. I'm going to go back over there as a sort of segue into why you would want to use our next method, but for right now, I'm just going to use the Polygon mainnet because I checked that for the call and that's working for it just fine. All right, so right now I have MetaMask in the expanded view, but you can also see what I'm looking at if you go over to the mini view by the extension. This essentially takes you to the same place. It's just that some people might want to use the expanded view. If, for example, if someone you're showing, I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, it takes up quite a bit of room, but it's also helpful if you're showing someone on Zoom that's, say, on the phone or whatever. So, it's just easier to do this for the sake of the video. So anyway, I'll go ahead and hit the swap button. And then I'll click select token. And then I'll type in the token that I'm wanting to swap to. In this case, it'll be USDT. And I'm swapping from Polygon or Matic, depending on what who is Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and swap from Polygon or Matic, depending on who you believe as for what the name of the token is. Now, this is the native gas token for the Polygon mainnet. Most of the time, unless you delve deeper into crypto, you're just not really going to be dealing with this, but this is the facsimile we have to work with right now. So just pretend this is BNB, then.
Right.
All right, I'm going to type in 5, and that's about 1/46 of poll. And it shows 1.44 of USDT. So just under 150 cents worth of USDT. So I'll go ahead and hit the swap button down here. And that's going to process. And once that's done, it's going to create your MetaMask account with that amount of USDT based off that swap.
Hunter, is just a quick question on that. Does it make sense to swap things of that small of value?
So it depends on the network you're working with. If you're working with, say, the Ethereum network, then absolutely not. But if you're working with a network that has lower fees, like, for example, the Binance Smart Chain or the Polygon chain, which typically has lower fees than the BNB chain, then it might make sense to do that. Typically, we wouldn't see amounts this small, probably not, but I'm doing this because, well, TV.
Yeah, for our information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see, it took a bit out of the Polygon that I had and swapped it over to Tether USD. All right, so if we go back to the Binance Smart Chain, there are certain situations where you just might not want to use the swap aggregator from within MetaMask. Because something that a lot of people don't understand is that MetaMask itself actually isn't doing the swapping. What
No,
it's
no.
doing, yeah, what it's actually doing is it's finding different rates from different decentralized exchanges, showing you the best one, and then routing that swap on your behalf in order to make that swap for you. Now, most of the time, you don't see what's happening on the back end, and that can be a bit of a double-edged sword because it definitely helps with convenience, but you miss out on quite a bit. So let me go ahead and hit the swap button now that we're back in the Binance Smart Chain. And this time I think I'm going to swap USDT for PFI. And I'm going to swap 10 USDT worth. Now for tokens you add as custom tokens, MetaMask is going to show you this warning, token add manually. You can just ignore this in our case since we know, like, and trust the PFB, PFI, and PFS tokens. So we can go ahead and click continue swapping. It's fetching quotes. And yep, this is one of the reasons why you might not be able to use the swap aggregator. Because, as I said before, MetaMask is having some issues with that on the Binance Smart Chain. I do not know what's been causing this. I've tried a lot of different troubleshooting steps to try and work around this, including uninstalling and reinstalling the wallets. Nothing really seems to have worked as of yet. But anyway, that's one of the reasons that you might not want to use the swap router or might not even be able to. Now, another reason you might not want to is that their swap router actually takes a 0.8% fee of whatever swap you're doing. So if this could go through, MetaMask would take, say, probably about 8 cents out of this USDT.
Right.
And where that goes is it actually goes to fund further development of MetaMask, of the wallet. But the downside from there is that you're not getting the most bang for your buck in the swap. So that's a question you have to decide for yourself as to whether you're okay with that, with MetaMask taking a cut there, or maybe not.
Hunter, I've paid up to 80 cents on a trade, sometimes more.
All right, and that'll actually bring us over to our next method. This is in the way. So, excuse me. So, as I said before, what MetaMask Swap Router actually does is it gets quotes from various different decentralized exchanges. Now, in the case of, say, the Binance Smart Chain, the top one that you're going to see is PancakeSwap.
Mm-hmm.
And on the Ethereum chain, you're probably going to see Uniswap. And on the Avalanche chain, you're going to see LFJ. But before I go into that, I want to stop my share for a sec. And real quick, does anyone have any questions about the MetaMask swap router before we move on?
Could you just go through those last three that you went through for the pancake swap and the Uniswap and the last one, please?
So those are different decentralized exchanges. I'll go back over those in a second when we get back going. All right. So I assume no one has any other questions?
I'm actually understanding it so far.
Yeah, I am too.
Very surprising.
I guess
All right, we'll go ahead and move on then. So these decentralized exchanges are actually where your swap attempts goes when you choose to make a swap or from one token on one chain, for example, here on the BNB chain, to another token on the same chain. Now, as I said, on the BNB chain or Binance Smart Chain, the dominant decentralized exchange you're going to see, and probably the one that you're going to see the MetaMask router go through, is going to be PancakeSwap.
Mhm.
And if you go over to, say, the Ethereum mainnet or Ethereum chain, the dominant one that you're going to see is probably going to be Uniswap. And Uniswap actually supports a lot of different chains, but they're mostly well known for having the best rates for Ethereum swapping or to other tokens on the Ethereum mainnet. LFJ is pretty much the same deal over on the Avalanche chain or the AVAX chain, depending on who you talk to.
It's LOF?
LFJ.
Oh, LFJ. Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
And that's the main net.
Yep, that's for AVAX or the Avalanche chain. So LFJ for Avalanche, Uniswap for Ethereum, Ethereum mainnet, and PancakeSwap for the BNB chain or Binance Smart Chain.
Yeah.
There are many, many others, but those are just 3 common examples. So we're going to go ahead and try to do a swap over to PFI here because we couldn't do it over in MetaMask. Now, if this is the first time you're coming over to PancakeSwap or any other decentralized exchange for that matter, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to connect your wallet. Now, the way you do this exactly will depend on the exchange that you're on, but most of the time you're going to see a button somewhere that says connect to wallet. So we'll go ahead and click the connect wallet button.
Oh, there it is.
And yeah, and certainly it'll give you a choice as to which wallet you're using. Now, if you see your wallet on this list, then you should definitely click that one. If you don't, then you might want to consider clicking either Injected or Wallet Connect, depending on how your particular wallet connects to Web3 services. Now, most of us, including me, are going to be using MetaMask, so we'll just click MetaMask. And MetaMask will now pop up with a connection request. And you can see that it's wanting to connect with PancakeSwap.finance. So we'll go ahead and click connect. All right, we're connected. So now we can go ahead and continue. So I'm going to click on BNB and we'll switch that over to USDT. And over where it shows cake now, we're going to click there. And if this is your first time here, you're going to have to add all the custom tokens you want to work with by their token address up here. And there's several different places you can find those over in the pool funding chat, or of course you can also just ask your sponsor. But here in my example, we're going to say that we want PFI. And I'm going to go ahead and swap 20 USDT over to PFI. And that gives me about $19.28 worth of PFI. Now that's including the fee that PancakeSwap takes because they have to make the service profitable. And one other
Hunter,
thing I want,
Hunter, hang on one second. Where do you see the $19.28?
Right at the
back
Oh,
to
it's
one.
in. I'm on my phone,
Yeah,
my
it's
laptop, so everything
zero
looks
zero
really
nine
small.
00412 or $19.
And one thing I actually want to go over before we actually do this is I want to show you how actually going over to the Decentralized Exchange actually gives you more information than if you just use the swap router over in MetaMask. Because you're seeing here, it's showing that you have a quote for a minimum amount of PFI received. So that's the minimum amount that you would get from this trade. You would also see the fee saved, and this is essentially showing you what you saved based off of the swap routing that's going on here. You see the price impact, so you see that the amount of impact you had on the price, pretty self-explanatory.
1.3.
You had the slippage tolerance. Now, this essentially is an option you can select to either increase, decrease, or leave it alone. And what this actually does is it gives you a bit of wiggle room between the time that you make the swap order between then and the time that it's actually fulfilled. So if your quotes here changes between then and now, between that, say 5-10 seconds or so, which it may very well, then that way the trade just doesn't automatically fail and you can still get your PFI or what your token you're wanting to get. Trading fee, that shows you the fee that PancakeSwap is taking for the trade. And then it's showing you the route that it takes. Because for unpopular swap pairs, you might actually have to be routed through several different swap pairs. Like, for example, if there wasn't a direct swap pair over to from USDT to PFI, then it might route my USDT over to, say, BNB and then over to PFI. And that's going to take a couple additional fees along with it. So this is good information to know.
Mhm.
And it also shows you when your price impact is just going to be too high. And sometimes it won't even let you make the swap for that reason. Now, MetaMask won't tell you why if that happens, but PancakeSwap or any other exchange will. So first I'm going to switch these two swap pairs. Then I'm going to switch over to PFS. And I'm just gonna go ahead and sell all my PFS. Let's YOLO it. Taking quite a bit of a haircuts there, if y'all notice, but if we continue on, whoops, nope, can't do that.
No?
Now, price impact too high. MetaMask would not tell you this, it just would show you no quotes available.
Oh, I see.
Now, if we go down here, we see again the minimum amount received, the fee saved, and the price impact. And we can see that the price impact is going to be 34.34%, not 30,
64.
64.34%.
64%.
Yes, thank you.
Wow.
So obviously much too high, and if PancakeSwap allowed that, that would crater the price, quite frankly.
Hunter, did you really want to sell all of your PFS? Just showing us as an example.
I admit nothing.
Okay.
He's not.
Hunter, what
No,
is that
I
below
wouldn't
on
do
the
that.
what is that below on the
Yeah, yes.
0.10, which
Price
is the
impact.
negative 3,000? What is that? USDT. Is that the value of your PFS token?
So over at PFS, this shows the value of the PFS that I have roughly. And that's an approximate figure that's showing about $3,260. And that's roughly what the amount of PFS I have now is worth.
That's a
Now,
good chunk of change there, Hunter.
Yep. If it let me swap that, then I would be taking quite a bit of a haircut because of the price
Oh,
impact.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
foolish.
if we look
So
under
that is only
USDT, yeah, I would only get $1,160. So I would be screwing myself over, and I would be screwing the community over if I did that. So
Exactly.
I'm not going to do that.
No. But you did that to show us that it won't let you do it. It won't let you
Right.
do it.
Right. I cannot click on this even if I want to.
No.
So yeah, that would be a reason that you would want to use a decentralized swap tool directly rather than using say the MetaMask swap router, because here you can see more information and you can see if your swap might fail, and if so, why it will fail. Now that can be a bit of a double-edged sword because this is less streamlined than if you would actually just use the swap router from within MetaMask. So with that in mind, let's actually go back over to our original swap. If it'll load. All right, let's go ahead and refresh. Sometimes it just bugs out a little bit. All right, now back to your original swap, 20 USDT for PFI. And that's going to give me $19.28 worth of PFI. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the swap button, and it's going to ask me to confirm and give me this information again. So I'll go ahead and confirm. And MetaMask is going to pop up here. First with a transaction request. All right, and there we go. Transaction complete. And we can go ahead and take a look at the transaction over on BSC scan.
That's how I send my receipts out, Hunter, with that.
Yep.
I just copy the top.
Always,
Or, yeah.
always a good practice.
And then I just send it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and put that receipt over in the chat for whoever wants to look at it for whatever reason. They can see, yes, on this date and on this time, I actually did this.
Rocky, no.
Mhm.
So that covers using decentralized exchanges like PancakeSwap, Uniswap, or LFJ. Does anyone have any questions about that before we proceed?
Dude, this is Susan. I have a question. I don't know if it's really related or not, but what I'm wondering is where we go to check on the price and the liquidity and what have you of PFI before and after a swap like that.
It's on the
Oh,
performance page.
that would actually be typically you would probably want to go over to 8 space, and so let me just show you my screen since I'm actually on that right now. All right, and over here on the 8 space swap pair for PFI and USDT, you can see the 24-hour volume that the trade has gone, and they'll be both positive and negative. The market cap, that being the total supply of the token, the price of the entire lot. The liquidity, and that'll show you the total value that's in the liquidity pool right now. So, for example, right now there's about 1.5K of UCT in the liquidity pool and 0.7 PFI in that same liquidity pool. And 8space will also show you the tax that's on that swap pair, if there is any. Now, this gets into a bit of advance, but we'll probably go over this in a future crypto Cove training. It shows you the pair age. This one was created 9 months ago. And the holders, that is how many people are holding any amount of PFI whatsoever. But if we either go down through the spore, or if we minimize the chart a little bit, we can actually see the transactions that take place through the swap pair. Like, for example, you see that swap I just made right a few minutes ago.
It increased the price 100, not quite $100.
Right. Yeah, the price before you did that was 2,169, and the price after was 2,228.
So it's about 70 some dollars, $75 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a good increase.
Yep, and we can actually see that over in the chart here. So
it's for sale right now.
Absolutely. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, Susan.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Hunter.
Yes.
That ape space site, I haven't really used that, but the lower half of it seems very logical and easy to read, but the upper half seems to be a whole bunch of humble jumble.
So that's essentially showing you the chart and some various information associated with that token that you might want to be aware of. So,
no, I'm talking about above all that information. There was a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't know what it was.
Actually, let me go ahead and share my screen again. And are you talking about this stuff here?
Yep.
That's actually the tokens that are seeing the most volume right now on the Binance Smart Chain. Essentially, this is just a. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to the right of the PFI/USDT, what are all those circular symbols?
So this is just a collapsible menu that shows you different parts of 8space. Like, for example, you can have a watch list here of the tokens that you're watching for their highs and lows. Gainers, that being the top tokens that have been seeing the most upward volume right now. Losers, essentially being the exact opposites, the tokens that are tanking right now. Honeypot checker. Now, this is actually pretty useful if you're considering getting into one particular meme coin or another, because if you enter in the token contract address, it shows you anything weird that might be going on with that token. And there's a bunch of things that could be, but that's for another show. So yeah, it can be useful to go through here and learn a bit if you have a bit of spare time.
Okay, so I may have missed something along here, but how in the world does Ape Space differ than Pancake Swap?
ApeSpace is essentially a chart tool that shows you where the token is by at that point and can show you historical data on what price the token has been at. Pancake Swap is just just the decentralized exchange.
Okay.
Right, so essentially think of 8space as like the library and Pancake Swap is the stock market.
Good analogy.
All right.
Say that one more time, please. Ape space is like,
Yeah, basically think of 8space as like the library
right,
and Pancake Swap is like the stock market.
good. That's very good. Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty. Do we have any more questions before we move on to the next swap method?
Yeah, just when you're doing from either one, it doesn't matter. Like does it matter if you use Ape space or does it matter if you use Pancake Swap? Either one will work for exchange on certain tokens, not every token. Correct?
So for exchanging, you would want to use Pancake Swap. Now, if you want to look at the price of the token right then you would probably want to go over to 8space.
Thank you.
You know, two different tools for two different purposes, basically.
Awesome. Thank you. That's perfect.
Idiot.
Alrighty. Any more questions?
No, that was really straightforward.
Alrighty, we'll go ahead and move over to the next method of swapping, that being cross-chain swapping. Now, swapping using decentralized exchanges is great when the token you want is on the same chain as the token that you're wanting to swap over to. But what if that's not the case? What if you have USDT on the Binance Smart Chain, but what you want is, say, Litecoin?
I have
Now, for situations like that, particularly if the token you're wanting isn't supported by any Web3 wallets like MetaMask, then you would want to use a cross-chain service such as SimpleSwap or FixFloat. SimpleSwap is available in more places, but FixFloat has slightly lower exchange fees. I'm just going to go with SimpleSwap since more people here are going to have access to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap USDT on the BSC chain over to Litecoin on the Litecoin chain. And I'm going to swap 20 USDT over. And you see that gives me a quote for 0.15 LTC. So I'll go ahead and hit the exchange button. Now this doesn't connect with your Web3 wallet at all, so there's some things that you're going to have to do manually. Like, excuse me, like for example, here you see it's asking for my Litecoin address. Now, again, MetaMask doesn't support Litecoin, so what we have to do is use another wallet. Like, for example, in my case, I use Exodus, and hopefully you all can see this. Sometimes Zoom blocks it out. Do you see my... I'm sorry, did you say something, Brett?
no, I was just looking at, that's Exodus.
Yes. Generally speaking, that's my wallet of choice for newbies who want to get into multi-chain dealings, but also need more than what a Web3 wallet can provide. Like, for example, if they want to hold Bitcoin or Litecoin, for example. So, SimpleSwap was wanting my Litecoin address, so I'll go ahead and click receive, and you'll see my Litecoin address right here. I'll go ahead and copy that. Then I'll go back over to SimpleSwap and paste that in. And you see the price fluctuate just a bit between the time we were talking. And now it's going to get another quote. And we'll click create an exchange. I generally don't recommend waiting a long time to get that going, but again, TV. All right, so we can see here that we have a deposit address that SimpleSwap has given us. This is the address we're going to send our 20 USDT to. So we can go ahead and click this button here that looks like two pieces of paper, and that'll copy that wallet address. Then we'll go up to MetaMask, and we'll then go to Tether USD, then hit send. We'll paste in that address and type in 20 USDT. Then hit continue and confirm. All right, MetaMask shows the transaction has been completed. So now,
That went to your LTC wallet? Or
no,
no?
what this did is it went over to SimpleSwap's wallets for USDT on the Binance Smart Chain.
Right, okay, gotcha.
Like, so right now we're just waiting on SimpleSwap to see that deposit. And how long this takes depends on the chain that you're on and what chain that you're swapping to. Like, for example, we can see that it's only on exchanging, but if you were doing something like, say, swapping Ethereum over to Bitcoin, be prepared to be here for a while. That's part of the reason why I chose Litecoin as part of my swap pair, because Litecoin is typically relatively fast. And you can see that it's already sending that Litecoin over. So we'll go ahead and go back over to Exodus. And there it is.
Done. That's fast.
Yep, it shows up as receiving in Exodus, so it hasn't quite been confirmed yet, but it's pretty much a done deal. And you see that now the amount of Litecoin is worth $18.99. So the exchange took out a little bit of a bite, but it's not really that bad, wouldn't you all say?
101.
Right. And again, if this was a swap pair that's had really high gas fees or transaction fees, like again, the case of Bitcoin to Ethereum or vice versa, then that fee would have been much, much higher
Mm-hmm.
and would have taken a lot longer. All right, so that was relatively straightforward. Does anyone have any questions on that method before we move on?
Do you have a tutorial on that? Like, cause it's not real, user friendly. Like I got it. I kind of got it figured out, but I just need something to go over. Like it would be nice to go over it a couple times before, because I just probably my fault. I'd probably lose something.
You could probably just use this video. This is going to be posted to YouTube.
Okay, perfect, super. Yep, that's all.
Question.
Yes.
What you just used, is that also a way to change USDT from, let's say the Ethereum chain over to USDT on the Binance chain?
If you have gas, if you have Ethereum, then yes, absolutely. That would be a good way to do that.
What do they use on the Ethereum for gas fees? Do you know?
Ethereum.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Are there any more questions?
Is BNB the only gas fee? Like that's what they use on the MetaMask, but do they use it on any other finance program?
So they use BNB on a couple different chains, a couple of which are depreciated at this point. There's one that's sort of a layer 2 to the Binance Smart Chain that also uses the BNB coin or Binance coin, but in general, most of the time you see each different chain has their very own different native gas token.
Okay.
So, Ethereum has Ethereum, Polygon has Matic, the Binance Smart Chain has the Binance coin, Avalanche has AVAX, and so on and so on.
Okay. Thank you, Hunter.
All right. Do we have any more questions here? All right, I'll take that as a no. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Now, we just covered how to swap assets over to a different chain when that different chain that you're wanting isn't supported by MetaMask or any other Web3 wallet. But what if it is? What if you're wanting to, say, swap over from USDT on the BNB chain to USDT on the Polygon chain? Now, 9 times out of 10, anything we would do in pool funding probably wouldn't be using a bridging apparatus like this. So, like for example, if you were thinking of bridging from Ethereum over to BNB chain, this probably isn't the method for you. You're probably better off just going with the cross-chain swap method that we just went over, because the fees that Stargate or any other bridging service charges for that are actually worse than what cross-chain swap services charge. And they can actually take quite a bit longer in some cases, especially during peak times on the network. So with that in mind, in this example, we're actually bridging between two different chains that are pretty fast and have pretty low fees. That being, again, the BNB chain and the Polygon chain. And you can see I've already preloaded this section here with 10. That's the amount of USDT that I'm going to bridge over. And as with any Web3 service, the first time you're here, you would need to connect your wallet. So I'll go ahead and do that. And again, you'll select your wallet from this list. We'll connect to MetaMask. Go away. All right, let me go ahead and refresh here and we'll try again. There we go. All right, now we see a connection request like we did with Pancake Swap, except now it's showing Stargate.finance is wanting to connect. So we'll go ahead and click the connect button. All right, and now it's showing the different tokens that I have in that MetaMask wallet that Stargate supports. And there are several different bridging services. I'm just using Stargate as an example because it's one of the most well-known and well-trusted examples. So we'll go back here and yep, we're seeing USDT on the BNB chain, bridged over to USDT on the on the Polygon chain, and I'll input 10 in there. And this is something that you might want to consider. You either have the economy option or the fast option for bridging routing. Now, to give a sort of real world analogy, let me go ahead and pull one of our group members here. Eeny, meeny, miny. I'll do someone other than Paul now at this point. He got abused enough back in the last one. And with that, we'll go ahead and pick on Brett a bit. So, Brett, say your car is in the shop or whatever. The point is, you just don't have it, and you really need to go somewhere. Now, if you're not really in a hurry, then what you might want to do is you might want to catch the bus, right?
Right on.
Right, because that'll get you there slower, and of course the bus is going to make quite a few stops along the way, probably, but it'll be cheaper. But if you need to get somewhere quickly, then you would probably
Yeah.
want to say call a taxi or an Uber or what have you, right?
Left, yeah, exactly.
And that's essentially the same deal here. The economy option here for gas cost is like the bus, and the fast option here is like the taxi or Uber.
But that's still cheap though.
Right, it's still pretty cheap because we're bridging between two chains that work quickly and have low fees. And something else that you have to keep in mind with economy is that this is essentially a form of batch transactions. So in our analogy, the bus isn't going to leave until it's all full. So there's 3 seats on this bus. It's a small bus, but it's a bus nonetheless. And the driver isn't going to leave until all 3 of those seats are filled. Doesn't matter how long it takes, that's the way it's going to happen.
Right.
You don't make the rules, the driver makes the rules. And as we can see right now, only 1 seat on the bus is full right now. We'll be taking the other seat. Well, one of the other seats, anyway. Which means we'll be waiting on someone else to come from our stop, and then we'll be able to go on. But I'm not going to do that. You're all my friends, so it's worth it to hire an Uber. So we'll go ahead and click the transfer button. And that's going to pull up with a transaction request over in MetaMask. So we'll go ahead and click confirm. All right, transaction complete. And shows as transaction submitted. So now it's just a matter of routing through the bridging service. Right now it's giving us an estimation about 25 seconds for that to go through and for us to reach our destination.
Sure,
A
can I
while
ask you-
back, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if I can ask a question about if I wanted to do USDT from the BNB chain. I saw Coinbase wallet as one of your wallet options to connect with. What chain would we put the USDT in order to send it to Coinbase?
So the Coinbase wallets no longer supports the BNB chain at this point. So what you would probably want to do is you would probably want to use the Polygon chain for that.
Thank you. Sorry
All
to
right,
interrupt.
so no problem. All right, so I actually tested this a little while ago with the bus method. It was 18 days ago, and if I recall correctly, even though we have a pretty fast connection here, we have a fast chain selection here, and if I recall correctly, it took about 10 minutes to go through all the way. So not very fast, but hey, we got there.
Mhm.
And let's go ahead and see if it's already here, speaking of which. And yes, it is. So before, you know, I only had around $2 and something cents worth of tether here in the Polygon chain on this wallet. Now I have $12 and 5 cents worth. Yeah, and shows as completed. All right, so again, that was relatively straightforward, I think. So does anyone have any questions about that before we move on?
I have a question, but might not be pertaining to that because it's with those different networks that you're working with, Polygon and all those. How many accounts can you have on that one site? Like, because you go from different network to network, are those considered as offshoots of your wallet?
So different chains are going to be essentially offshoots of your wallet or account, because actually every single separate EVM compatible network you work with, like for example, the Binance Smart Chain and the Polygon chain, the Avalanche chain, and so on. Generally speaking, if MetaMask supports it, it's actually going to use the same address. So the same address that we use for BNB on the Binance Smart Chain, the same address we use for pool funding, can absolutely also be used for something else we're doing with the Polygon chain.
Oh, very good. Okay, that's
Yep, it's all based off of the Ethereum backend structure.
Wonderful. Thank you.
No problem. All right, are there any other questions on that point?
How are we doing for time?
We're standing at probably, let me look, about an hour. So we have a lot of ground to cover here. We've covered quite a bit so far. But with that, we'll go ahead and move on. Let me close this here. All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen again, and we'll move on to method number 5. Now, one thing you need to know when you're bridging or swapping or anything else where you're going to have custom tokens or tokens that aren't the native gas token for one network or another is you're going to need the gas token if you want to do anything with that. So, like for example, in this case, for anyone who was on the last Crypto Cove call, you'll see that apparently I haven't learned my lesson.
Oh, you got no
And-
B.
Yeah, again. Right, so the issue here is you can't do anything at all on the Binance Smart Chain if you have no BNB. I can try sending the USDT I have over to, say, my account 5. And you'll see insufficient funds. And even if I switch over to USDT, no, it's not going to let me do that.
I'll send you some.
Yeah, that would be the ideal situation for probably most of the folks here is if you can reach out to your sponsor, then they may very well send you some, especially if you agree to pay them back after you get your situation sorted there. But this is probably going to be the worst case scenario we're looking at here, and that's going to be a gasless swap. And we've already covered SmolRefuel on a previous Crypto Cove call, so if it's okay with you all, I'm just going to relatively speed through it. Connect with MetaMask. All right, let me try that again. This is probably because I have these all open so well in advance. It just lets you get things in their proper place. So anyway, we're connected just as before. So we'll select the chain that we want gas on. In our case, that's going to be the Binance Smart Chain. So we'll click BSC. Then we'll click Select Token. Then click USDT. And in my case, I'm going to click Max because, again, TB, 10 is a good amount to swap, is a good rule of thumb. That'll give you a good amount of gas to work with. All right, and that's going to show you the fees that the SmolRefuel service charges, as well as the fee that the exchange is going to charge, because this is actually using PancakeSwap for its backend in the case of the Binance Smart Chain.
Wow.
So we'll go ahead and click Start. And I'm going to go ahead and click Sign Commitment. And that's going to open up a signature request in MetaMask for me to sign a smart contract. The message says, I commit to completing the swap on SmolRefuel.com after receiving my loan. So what we're essentially doing here is we're applying for a short-term loan for the gas fee. So I'll sign that. And that's confirming.
Interesting. That's interesting. You have no way to do any gas fees, but you just created it by doing this.
Yep, we're essentially getting a loan from SmolRefuel, and that's allowing us to make that swap. So as you can see, SmolRefuel sent us our loan, 12 cents worth of BNB. So we'll go ahead and approve the swap that we were wanting to do. That'll give us a spending cap request for SmolRefuel, so it can do that swap on our behalf. All right, transaction complete. And on a fast chain like BNB, it takes no time at all. Whereas, say, on a chain like Ethereum, it'll probably take quite a bit of time. And you see it's already, actually, that needs to be refreshed here. You see it's already done just that. It's swapped the Tether USDT on our behalf and given us $9.07 worth of BNB. So while it was doing that, the exchange PancakeSwap, of course, took their fee. And then SmolRefuel took a small bit of a fee to make the service profitable. Of course, they had to keep the lights on just like everyone else. And while they were doing that, they also took out the cost of the loan. So in one fell swoop, we've taken out a loan, and probably within 30 seconds of it, we've paid back that loan.
Mhm.
How's that for DeFi?
That's really cool.
All right, so now that we have our gas, we're good to go. And I know I sped through that quite a bit because, again, we've already covered this before. If you want to go through it or in more detail, I have another video in my channel where I go through all the different points and steps in excruciating detail. But with that in mind, does anyone have any questions regarding that? No? Okay, so then we'll move on to our final method of swapping. And Brett, this is actually going to be the one where we're going to have a bit of audience participation on.
Okay.
Now, I've gone through this in a previous video on another video that was essentially a Crypto Cove update video that I did with Dean Herbin and as well as a couple other people on the call. But the last method I want to go over is peer-to-peer swapping, that being manual swapping between you and another party. So in the example we're going to go over today, Brett has agreed to sell me $10 worth of PFI. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and send him the USDT first. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again. And one thing you definitely want to do when you're doing this is checking to see what that amount of PFI is going to be worth and how much you'll be getting for it by swapping $10 worth of USDT. So we go to PancakeSwap and we'll select USDT to PFI. And we're not actually going to do a swap here. We're just saying a quote here for it. All right, and $10 here would give us about 0.00441307 PFI. For the sake of everyone's sanity involved, you might just want to give them an extra USDT and have them round up to say 0.0045. So let me go ahead and put that in the chat for everyone. All right, and Brett sent me his wallet address a little while ago, so I'll just go ahead and get that, and I'll go ahead and copy that. Then I'll go over to MetaMask, hit send, paste his wallet address in, make sure I'm sending USDT. I'll send him 11. Continue. and confirm. All right, transaction complete. All right, so I'll have you share your screen in a minute, Brett. I just want to show people that as far as the market is concerned, nothing's happening here. Right now, we're still at 2.22 28K on PFI. So anyone who wants to keep an eye on that, I think Brett posted all the swap pairs in 8space in the chat a little while ago. But with that, I'll go ahead and stop my share, and Brett, I'll go ahead and make you co-host so you can start your share. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get that receipt so everyone can see that I did in fact send you 11 USDT. Don't send anything just yet. All right, so I'll go ahead and put this in the chat. And everyone can see that I've sent that transaction over and it's been confirmed. So Brett, can you confirm on your end that you did in fact receive that 11 USDT?
Yeah, so do you want me to go into Tether and then just get a receipt for you or what?
I actually pasted the receipt in the chat, so
Oh,
I had it, so not to worry.
in Zoom. Correct?
Right, it's in the Zoom chat, and if you can open that so everyone knows that we can see it, and you definitely see it on your end too.
Yeah. Whoa. What did I do here? Oh, timing. There it is.
Yeah, and this is just good practice when you're doing business with someone over crypto, is that you send them the transaction hash or a link to the transaction, because this essentially serves as a receipt for the transaction. I mean, quite a few of you like getting receipts from places that you do business with. When you go shopping, you probably might want a receipt, so that way if something's wrong, you have something to look back at,
Oh,
right?
sure. That's your address right there. Right here.
That's the transaction hash for the transaction. So that essentially serves as the receipt number.
And this is my address here, yeah. Okay.
Right.
That's
And you see in the from field, right above where you have your cursor.
Yeah.
That's my wallet address, and you can see interacted with. You can see that I sent you USDT
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
in the amount of 11 USDT.
That's correct, yeah. So what I do is I will go up to the top here and I would copy that address, this address here, and then paste it. I would go into our group and I would paste it into Wire, into whoever's here, and then all into my group. So that's how I send it. I don't know if everyone else is doing that or not.
Well, it absolutely is a good practice, and if you're not doing it, you should absolutely consider it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an extra step to go through, but it's so helpful to see who did what when, and of course that helps to sort out what happened when problems happen.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, Brett, go ahead and click on PFI.
And
And
or send. It's send.
send. And you have my wallet address copied? I sent it over to you earlier.
Yeah, I do. It's right here.
Yep, that's it.
And then it goes back here. Pardon me. You have to have that copied, but I'm going to show people a little trick here. I really like this, and I've come to appreciate it. Is that you can save that address. So when I go to pop it in here, I could paste it, but I could also save it. And I forget where I click on now. Here. No, I guess not. Maybe I can't save it. So I'm going to send you $11 back.
Yep, so 0.0045
Oh, right, yeah.
PFI.
0.0045. Yeah. So continue. And that's everything looks good here. There's your 10-cent gas fee. Your speed's going to be 15 seconds on the Binance chain from me.
Yep, everything's looking good. So click confirm.
Confirm. So then view your transaction, and then what I will do. This happened before.
All right, and I am seeing it on my side. I'm looking at my wallet right now.
So I can go into confirm. I can go back into here to my screen and go down to activities into confirmed. I can view it on Block Explorer. And now I'm going to come up, and this is the address I want to save right up top here. And right click on that, copy, and go into pool funding. I'm going to send it to him and his personal DM. Boom. That way you got it. There's your receipt back. And I always typed in sent February 23rd, 2025 for 0.0045 PFI. There you go.
And
So
I'll paste
that's what I do. I don't know if that's getting too, whatever, redundant or whatever you want to call it, but I do that so that they know what it is. If they look on the front, they can see a little bit of it, but they have to open it up.
Right.
So that's, yeah.
All right, so I can verify that, yes, it did show up on my end. I'll just go ahead and share my screen on my end so
I'll stop
can
sharing.
see that. Yep.
There you go.
And I also posted the link to that receipt in the chat for anyone who wants to see it themselves.
And that's fast. Like, man, that's like 15 seconds. Peer to peer.
Yep. All right, and we can see the transaction details of that transaction. We see it's interacted with the PFI token to the tune of 0.0045. And let's go back over to PFI.
Refresh
The
that.
the price didn't move. Nothing happened here as far as the market was concerned. Yeah, this can actually be pretty useful if you really do have to sell your pool funding tokens. Then what you would want to do is you would probably want to reach out to someone in the community and see if they're interested in buying them. Now, you would probably want to go to your sponsor first. essentially have them have first right of refusal, and then from there work with anyone else who might be on your team to see if any of them want it. And if they don't, then you can absolutely ask trusted members of the community. So,
Because that doesn't affect anything.
right,
Doing that. That's what we
Right,
should be doing. If you're selling it in-house, then it's protected because then it doesn't change anything. Whereas if you're selling it, boom, it's dropping it. So
right. As far as the market is concerned, nothing happened just now. The market doesn't know what happened. It
because
wasn't a buy, it wasn't a sell, so.
it stayed in the program. It never left.
Exactly. And granted, there's a few problems that can happen with that. Let me tell you right now, because this relied on Brett and I trusting each other. After I sent him the 11 USDT, there really wasn't anything stopping him from saying, "Oh, thanks for the money," and just dropping off the call. And
Call Gasless and I'd be in trouble.
that would have been that, unfortunately. I would have no way of getting that alone USDT back. And it's the same as if he sent me the PFI first, I could say, "Oh, thanks for the PFI, meeting over." And that would be the end of that. So it's very important that if you're doing this with someone, that you trust the person you're doing this with. Which is why I say ideally it should be either your sponsor or someone on your team. Essentially, someone who has a vested interest in not screwing you over would be ideal. Now, if that's not possible, and this is just the words of one man, so take it with a rock of salt. If that's not possible, then I could very well see some people stepping up and becoming, say, escrow services, for want of a better term. Although probably won't use that exact term since that comes with its own different set of regulations, and in most parts of the world, crypto isn't considered money as of yet, so it's technically not serving as an escrow service in any way, shape, or form. That's just my 2 cents on the matter, and I mean, it could be something to discuss in the future, but yeah, right now, those are just the words of one man and me just talking out loud, which I imagine you all are probably getting sick of by this point.
Hunter, that what we just did, we just proved to the people that are watching this that we did not affect the price by doing what we did. And even if it was only $100 or $200, you're gaining. Because if I swap you for $200 because you needed $200, it doesn't affect the market. So I'm really happy that you did that.
Exactly.
Superhero, Hunter.
So yeah, this is what everyone should be doing if they need to sell their coins for whatever reason. They should be doing this first before even thinking about going to, say, Pancake Swap or any other market for that matter. Keep
100%.
the tokens in-house as much as possible. So with that, that was the last swap method I wanted to go over. Does anyone have any questions about either that last one or any of the other methods we've talked about?
I think we need to get this out to the general public because I'll tell you what, what we just did tonight that's perfect.
Well, it's recorded and quite a few people in asking for something like this, and it'll be good as far as tutorials go. I mean, I might end up using the Zoom clips feature and making several different videos about this, each one going over the many different methods here. So, that's just me spitballing right now. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. Most of the time, I'm making stuff up as I go along. Have that be a little bit of a secret to you.
Well, I think what you did tonight was just perfect because it now proves that we can protect this program.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
So-
much for all your time and energy, Hunter.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. That was a great presentation.
Glad I can help.
Definitely.
thank you,
Thank
Hunter.
you.
So, with that in mind, does anyone have any questions?
Till next time.
Yep, and with that, I'll go ahead and end this call as custom before I actually close out the recording. And what do you think, folks? Am I gonna get it?
You're awesome. Thank you so much.
3,
Yeah, very good.
2, 1. To the moon! No! That's that's a little bit. I don't even know what to say. I'm just going to
It's
go ahead
okay.
and stop the recording.
Well, just pretend it's from all of us and just because we love you. So,
It's okay. Yeah, we still love you, Hunter.
The feeling is mutual. The feeling is mutual. So I'll go ahead and stop recording here.